2, 3, 4.
Hi everyone, this is Jewish Talk coming to you from NASA Community College on 90.3 WHPC. This program is later archived on Spreaker.com. So hi there, my name is Rabbi Perl. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This all depends on when you are listening and joining us. Today, Sunday, tomorrow, Monday, and Tuesday are actually 3 days of Chol Hamoed. That's the Hebrew word for the intermediate days of the holiday of Passover. And this coming Wednesday and Thursday are actually the two concluding days of the 8 days of Passover, which we will soon discuss. First, let's get back to our subject, of course. What's on our mind is the pandemic, which has forced us to redefine essential and non-essential. Let me explain. See, all of us around the world are under what we would call a home lockdown, following the instructions, stay home and stay safe. These are the emergency orders to help us combat the coronavirus. Individuals were allowed to leave our homes only for certain essential activities, which includes grocery shopping, medical needs, and going to the gas station or to the bank, if the bank is open. So living under these orders emphasizes for all of us that only the essential retail and commercial activities are permitted, and only essential business can stay open. Now, if you look inside the dictionary, the definition of essential is absolutely necessary, extremely important. A synonym would be crucial, necessary, key, and vital. Let's take a look at the word non-essential. That means not completely necessary. A synonym of that would include dispensable, gratuitous, inessential, needless, and unnecessary. This order on how we're living right now really has got me thinking about what we consider essential. Each of us is really the executive of our own lives. We give the orders. We define what is essential, crucial, and vital versus what is non-essential, what is dispensable and gratuitous, and what we can live without. Obviously, none of us can live without our health or without the well-being of our loved ones. And therefore, for those who are suffering, who have experienced a loss, there are no words or platitudes. All we can say is our heartfelt empathy and love. And to those financially devastated by this pandemic, in addition to our commitment to help, provide, and support, know that we deeply and we care deeply, and we're thinking about you. For those fortunate to have their health and financial stability, the consequences and the impact of this pandemic are still extremely challenging. So many aspects of this new normal can't help but frustrate us, disappoint, aggravate, and worry even the most even-tempered, confident, and competent and capable person. Even if we are blessed not to be grieving over loved ones, we are grieving the loss of innocence, of certain assumptions and realities we took for granted and came to expect. Let's honor that feeling, lean into that pain, express that frustration in a healthy way, and then let it go and work and feel a sense of Dayenu. Let me explain. We all know Dayenu is one of our favorite songs at the Seder table. And the Dayenu message is straightforward. For those who may not know the song, here it goes. Ilu hotzi hotzionu mitzrayim, tzionu mitzrayim Dayenu. Hey, Dayenu, Dayenu. The Hebrew word Dayenu that we keep on repeating means enough. And the Dayenu message of this song is straightforward. We need to know how to say enough, not in a caustic tone, but in an appreciative one. On the Seder evenings of our journey from slavery to liberty, we achieve our very own freedom. So when we sing and say Dayenu, we focus on what we have, not what we don't. We have enough and we are satisfied enough. Dayenu means it is enough to enjoy this moment, to be present in this experience, to savor this gift and to cherish this opportunity without having to already look forward or crave the next one. Of course, each stage and each stanza of this song is incomplete. If you know the actual song itself, each one speaks about an aspect which was not complete. Each was imperfect, but nevertheless we say Dayenu. Each is still enough. Enough to prompt us to say thank you, and even enough to make us happy. So just like the stanzas of the Dayenu, our lives are often incomplete. They are imperfect. For most of us, this Passover is different from all others. There's so much missing. So many people absent from our Seder tables, or people feeling absence from their own. Yet, if we focus on what is missing, what we don't yet have, or may never have, we become debilitated, deprived of happiness. On the other hand, if we find the capacity to sing Dayenu, to focus on what is, to enjoy what we have, guess what? We have set ourselves free to find happiness. Our sages teach us that he who has 100 desires 200. We all have an insatiable appetite for more, a voracious need for the latest, being unsatisfied without the newest, the best, the most. This kind of robs us of our serenity. Guess at the same time, it denies us happiness and often distracts us from what matters most. So we live with unprecedented freedoms. We have the freedom to practice our religion, freedom of speech, freedom to pursue happiness. And yet for all those freedoms, our generation, I must say, remains somewhat enslaved. Guess what? We are slaves to needing more. We are dominated by needs. Our need for more money, more time, more things, the latest things, a better seat, a better room, more power, more friends, the need to have the last word, even our need to be needed. So our needs, wants, and lack of contentment, that becomes our taskmasters. Because they occupy space in our heads, in our hearts. They hijack our thoughts. They dictate to us how to feel, and they command us to say things and do things that are really very self-destructive. This pandemic has forced us to redefine essential and non-essential. With the proper frame of mind, many of us can be empowered in unprecedented ways to sincerely and genuinely sing Dayenu from the essence of our being. So if we have each other, feel connected, and part of a community working together, even if we can't get our haircuts, our manicures, or upgrade our wardrobes, Dayenu. If we have joyous occasions to celebrate, babies born and couples entered into a sacred bond, even if they can't be marked with the usual pomp and circumstances, let's say Dayenu. If we can observe Passover, remembering that God runs the show, runs the world, and brings redemption, even if it isn't at a hotel or where we normally go with people we normally are with, let's say Dayenu. And above all, my friends, above all, if we can breathe easily, if we and those we love have our health, even if we can't enjoy our full lifestyles, let's all say together, Dayenu. Our Passover, and on this Pesach in particular, we set ourselves free by singing Dayenu. We are happy to pause to reflect on what we have and say thank you. Living with limits, finding happiness within what we have, maintaining the capacity to say enough is liberating, empowering, and enriching. When we always want more, we never pause to enjoy what we have. And we forfeit what is in our pursuit of what is next, and we're never happy. So during this Passover in particular, let's take a few moments. As I said, the holiday is through this whole week. All the way through Thursday night is actually 8 days of Passover. Let's take a few moments to reflect. Look around your table. Look around your house, your apartment, wherever. Take stock of your life. And don't notice what is missing. what you wish was there. Indeed, instead, let us sing Dayenu enough and hold tighter onto which is there. Look around. You have. We all have so much. This is critical theme of this year's Passover, and I would like to say it's the key to setting ourselves free in what we're doing. As I mentioned at the beginning of the program, this coming Wednesday and Thursday are actually the last 2 days of the holiday of Passover. It's actually an 8-day celebration. And this coming Tuesday evening and Wednesday evening, on the eve of both of the days, we have the special mitzvah of lighting the holiday candles. So this coming Tuesday evening, candle lighting to usher in the 7th day of the holiday is 7:16. On the next evening, it's at 8:17. After the end of the 7th day, we're going into the 8th day. 8:17 p.m. we light the holiday candles, and of course we light the candles from a pre-existing light. So people leave on a longer yahrzeit candle. And talking about yahrzeit candle and Morah candles, it is on Thursday, the last day of the holiday, when we have Yiska. And typically we would be in the synagogue. And this year we all will be saying Yiska in our homes. But what's the significance of these last 2 days? It's one of those best kept secrets here. What's going on here, Rabbi? I know about the Seders. What are you talking about? Well, guess what? April 15th is coming on Wednesday. Don't get nervous. We've all been given an extension for our taxes. But this coming Wednesday, April the 15th, the 21st day of Nisan, and then the following day, on the 22nd day of Nisan, or April 16th, these are the last 2 days. One is called Shvi Shel Pesach, and one is called Achron Shel Pesach. Shvi Shel Pesach, in English, means the 7th day of Pesach, actually commemorates when the Sea of Reeds, or the Red Sea, was split. On the eve of the 7th day after the Exodus, the Jewish people, children of Israel, found themselves trapped between the Egyptian army and the cavalry, pursuing them from behind, and guess what? In front of them was the waters of the Sea of Reeds, also known as the Red Sea. Before them, God commands Moses, speak to the children of Israel that they should move ahead. Just keep on moving. Guess what? One individual, Nachshon ben Aminadav, Nachshon the son of Aminadav, from the tribe of Judah, he was the first to jump into the sea. Remember, when we know about the splitting, that only happened after this individual jumped in. Guess what? The water split, and the children of Israel walked across on the dry land in the midst of the sea. All that night, a pillar of fire intervened between the Egyptians and the Israelites. When the Egyptians followed, the waters returned to their natural state and the place, and guess what? They were all drowned. And at the conclusion of all of that, this great miracle, the children of Israel sang what is known as the Song at the Sea in praise and gratitude to Hashem, to God. This is what happened. This is what we're celebrating on the 7th day of the holiday, which will be this coming Wednesday. Thursday, the last day of the holiday, April 16th, is the 8th day of the holiday. And that's the second day, just like we have the two days of beginning of the holiday, we have 2 days at the end. But the theme of the last day is connected with the future redemption. It's reflected in the Torah, in the Haftorah reading, and Yiska, because Yiska, of course, is remembrance prayer for those departed, and it's recited on that day. And we look forward to the resurrection with the future redemption. All those who passed on will come back again. This is an appropriate day to say Yiska for our loved ones. On the late afternoon of this coming Thursday, I'd like to share with you an amazing meal to have. It's called the Mashiach Suda, the Mashiach's meal. The last day of Passover, it's called Achron Shel Pesach, is particularly associated with Mashiach, with the redemption and the future redemption. And in honor of that, because, my dear friends, just look around the world that we are today. Don't we all want Mashiach to come? There'll be universal peace, divine perfection, no more illnesses, no more wars, no more nothing, all the garbage that we have to deal with, only peace amongst the whole world and great revelation. So along came the Baal Shem Tov, who is the founder of the Hasidic movement. He instituted a very special customs, very special meal. Just like we begin the holiday of Passover with special meals called the Seder, we conclude it, and it's called the Mashiach's meal. So late afternoon this Thursday, on the last day of Passover, in addition to the matzah eaten at this meal, just like we began with eating matzah at the beginning of the holiday, we eat matzah during this meal, this Mashiach's meal, and in Chabad we also have the custom of drinking 4 cups of wine. And just as we did at the beginning of the holiday with 4 cups of wine. So I'm encouraging everybody, dear friends, why not? Let's this year will be somewhat limited. Will be a home. Why don't we all consider this year together with your immediate family in your own home to sit down on late Thursday afternoon and have some more matzah, drink 4 cups of wine, and pray for the well-being of all those who need to have a recovery from the pandemic, from this illness, from this disease. Let's have in mind when we say Yiska for all those lives who were taken from us. And most important, let's have this fervent belief, the anticipation of the coming of the redemption, where all of this will be behind us. Now, I just want to share with you a little bit about crossing of the Red Sea. Why are we celebrating crossing of the Red Sea? We understand the beginning, we left Egypt. Okay, that's great, we left. But why is the real celebration of Passover also including the 7th day, which is all about crossing of the sea? What's that to do with us today? Let me put it in this way. Some people experience freedom canoeing across a lake in some beautiful wilderness, somewhere. I feel free when my excuses run out. There's something I very much want to do, but I don't want to do it, right? Sometimes we blame our spouse, our children, our age, our whatever, our childhood, our landlord, employer, always something else. Now, it works for a while, a day, a month, a year, but finally, inevitably, there comes a point at which there are no excuses left. What a relief. We take a deep, exhilarating breath. Wow, I feel 50 pounds lighter. Now it's just me and me in the ring, my inner self and my outer self, my motivated self and my inner self. And let the better man win. Why am I sharing this with you? You see, in the Torah portion of Bo, one of the Torah portions, read how the last of the 10 plagues finally broke the spirit of the Egyptians. And after 4 generations of slavery, the children of Israel marched triumphantly out of Egypt, matzahs baking in the sun. Time for credits, right? To start scrolling up the screen. Not quite, my friends. Instead, we get a frame reading 7 days later. And the opening scene is in the Torah portion of Beshalach. So we have, what I'm trying to say is, there's Exodus 1 and Exodus 2. Exodus 1, we all sat at our Seder tables. But Exodus 2 completes the show. See, the Israelites are walking serenely through the desert. When they look over their shoulders, they see the Egyptians chasing after them. Wow, seems that marching out of Egypt is not going to do the trick. We're going to have to split a sea before we can get and proceed to Mount Sinai. What's going on? Have the Egyptians been defeated? Haven't their gods shown their worthlessness? Their proud Pharaoh now humiliated? Hasn't he come running in his pajamas in the middle of the night, literally begging Moses and Aaron to take their people out of the land as quickly as possible? Who then is this mighty Pharaoh materializing like a mirage in the desert, hot on our heels, with an army of war chariots and horsemen? Along come Hasidic teachings, and this is a very important point, explains that here indeed, when we celebrate Pesach, Passover completely, there are actually 2 stages to the human quest for freedom. That's why it's divided up into 2 Torah portions, Bo and Beshalach. That's how we have the first and the last days of Passover. That's why we have the Exodus from Egypt and the Exodus part 2, which is the splitting of the sea. There are two types of slavery. There's a kind of slavery in which the chains that are shackled on our souls are put on from the outside, externally imposed, like your boss fires you, your landlord raises your rent, or your mother-in-law invites herself over for the weekend. Right? It comes in from the outside. Then there's the internal slavery that comes from our own self-imposed shackles. It could be our anger, our vanity, our laziness, our greed. It's easy to think ourselves free when we overcome an external imposed limitation, right? So hopefully with God's help, very soon we'll be able to leave our homes. But the limitations were placed on us from the outside. But as we were discussing during our own Seder, once this freedom is given to us, will we really be free? Right? Okay, we can overcome external imposed limitations. We're shocked and surprised to discover, guess what's happening? Pharaoh is still pursuing us, even though we've escaped Egypt. But the Pharaoh that we see closing in on us in the desert is really a Pharaoh that we took out of Egypt within ourselves. We've been freed from the Egypt that closed in from the outside, from without. But we really also have to transcend the Egypt that we find within ourselves. So to do that, we had the experience of splitting open our sea, which means, and if I put it into current times, this whole pandemic experience requires us to split open ourselves, so to speak, to penetrate the depths of who and what we are, to uncover our true self. Now, in the middle of everything, this is what we're all about. This is what the last days of the holiday are all about, is splitting of the sea, being able to open up and find the strength within ourselves to just keep on going and not to allow anything to stand in the way. And that is, I would say, perhaps even on a certain level deeper. There's one thing experiencing leaving Egypt, but to maintain that freedom and to have the freedom within ourselves, to be able to say Dayenu, as we've been discussing, on what we have, to appreciate what we have, and to know how deep and how thoughtful and how caring and how spiritual we all are within ourselves, sometimes takes a pause to split open. The sea was an area that was concealed. It concealed the dry land. And the miracle was, of course, that it opened up. And that's really what this last 2 days of the holiday were about, being able to free ourselves from the internal constrictions and limitations that we may be self-imposed. Again, the many things that have been imposed upon us. Fine. Hopefully, very soon we'll get rid of that. But will we ourselves be free from within ourselves? Please think about this and consider, dear friends, that this coming Tuesday evening and Thursday evening, to light the holy candles for the holiday and make this coming Wednesday and Thursday really experience how this is really part of an 8-day holiday of Passover in the deepest sense of the word. I also like to throw out this challenge to email us or to call us. Email us is the best way, Rabbi Perl at chabadminiola.com. Tell us what was the most inspiring, positive aspect of your Seder this year, whether from extreme, whether it was just yourself, just together with your spouse, or with your children, in some limited way, but there has to be something special. And I want to hear your lesson. What is your lesson? What did you learn? And I want to share with that. And I would love to include that in a wrap-up, so to speak, that I'd like to write about in the coming days. So again, send us an email, Rabbi Perl at chabadminiola.com. And again, what wonderful, positive, right? We all know how we all felt and the opposite of positive, and not being together with community or with family, etc., or with friends. But there has to be something positive that you came away with. Share that with us, and we'll share that with the world. Many people ask me, why does the matzah taste so, bland? Come on. Well, the short and simple answer is that the name for the matzah is really called, in the Torah, is called lechem oni, a poor man's bread, or bread of poverty. A poor man can only afford two simple ingredients, flour and water. So we can only imagine that our ancestors ate this poor man's bread while enslaved in Egypt. Indeed, one of our classical commentators, called the Ibn Ezra, who was imprisoned in India, he recounts that prisoners and slaves were fed matzah-like food since it's cheap and filling. So guess what? So every Passover, on Passover, we commemorate our enslavement and subsequent exodus by eating the bread of poverty. So this is one of the reasons. Of course, there's a deeper reason as well, because it reflects the simple faith Jewish people left and ran, followed Hashem into the wilderness, and the simplicity, the blandness of the matzah reflects that depth of faith, of a self-sacrifice. Wasn't sure where they were going, what they were doing, but they just followed. And that simplicity, it doesn't have to be a fancy cake, so to speak, a fancy matzah with all kinds of ingredients, just simply flour and water to emphasize the importance of that simplicity, of that faith that we had. It's not so much about the taste. It has taste, but the simplicity, the blandness to emphasize how important the faith that we had, the haste, it was made quickly, but also reflect our faith that we were doing exactly, and we were totally in the hands of the Almighty God. So, dear friends, wishing everybody a wonderful, wonderful continued days of Passover. Please remember, on Thursday also include Yizkor services, memorial, not only for our own loved ones, have in mind everyone else who sadly has passed away during this difficult time. May Hashem bless us that very speedily we will not have any pandemics to talk about, but the ultimate redemption, will all of us be healthy and well, and the whole world will be at peace with the greatness and great revelations of goodness and kindness. But each of us can make a difference, my friends. Imagine yourself, you have a scale, on one side is one way, and you're on the other side, and we're not sure who's going to win, who's going to weigh down, and one little extra good deed brings down the whole scale, not only for oneself, but for the entire world. If the virus can create such havoc, a small little unseen, invisible, germ-like in the disease, how much more so can our good deeds make a difference to everybody? This is your host, Rabbi Perl, wishing you a guten Moed, a wonderful week, a guten Pesach, sei gesund, and all the best. 1, 2, 3, 4.